Hey guys, um, I don't know if you guys realize this, but when you have different, so many different YouTube channels, you have to have email addresses for each and every one of them. Uh, I still have the email addresses for all of my channels because even the channels that have been taken down. So I get people ask me a lot of questions. Uh, I try to answer them in my videos. And if they're not, if people don't watch my videos, it seems like when I put them out, and because I make so many videos, they get pushed further and further back. Uh, they never get seen. Now, I started going through on this channel here, folks. On this channel alone, there's over 60 videos, and so I'm going back through the questions that I've gotten from the emails of this channel, and they're asking me certain questions. Now, I'm pretty sure I thought I'd explained this on this channel in at least one of my videos that's on here. But I found out now that I got on here and I just went all the way back to the very first video. Well, back then I only had maybe, I think when I started this, I ended up with about 6 or 7 subs in about a week or so. But I really I pumped a lot on here because I was using this channel when my other channels were locked down and I couldn't do anything on it. And so the subs never did until just here recently. I didn't have more than 12 subs on there. So none of the videos had more than about anywhere from 3 to 7 or 5 or something views on them. Now, as those views come up, and I don't expect you people to go back and watch every video I've ever done. There's no way. You guys, some of them are an hour long. Some of them are less than an hour, and some of them are over. So I can't expect you guys to go back through and watch all my videos. So I guess I have to, because I like you guys. I want you to know I hear you and I get your emails and I try to answer them in a video. So two of my biggest questions that come across my emails of many layers is, where did Watachee running free come from, and where did Fakawi four wheelers come from? I have no Indian, I believe. I don't know. Uh, Native Indian or anything in me, folks. I don't know what's in me because I ain't doing no DNA tests or anything like that. Now, I have family members that have done it, and they claim many things are in our bloodline. So, no, I'm not Indian. No, I'm not Mexican because people claim out in Arizona, folks. When I worked out in the sun every day, I get dark, or I used to. Uh, I'm not getting out there in the sun like Arizona sun anymore. So, but I worked out in it for years. Matter of fact, over 2 decades. And so I, for some reason, me and my father got dark. I got my dad's skin and got my mom's face. So I got dark, always got dark. My mom used to tell during the summer when we were in school, when I was a kid, we had a public pool that my mom would buy us uh, a pass for every summer. She'd go down, pay whatever it was that we could get in and out of that pool as many times as we wanted throughout the summer. And she would buy those passes for us. And so we spent a lot of time at the Greenwood City pool. And I would get so dark, folks. And my mom used to say, man, the color, every woman would kill for your tan, is what my mom used to say. Every woman would kill for your tan. Because I would get burnt, folks. I would get the very first couple of days out in the sun during the summer, a good hot sun blaring down on you. I could get blistered, and I have a Mexican blistered uh, video somewhere where I got blistered in Mexico. But like I'm saying, when I was younger, I wouldn't. I'd get sunburnt in Indiana. I never had a blister. Yeah, I peeled, but no, I'm talking about liquid filled blisters like I got in Mexico. Third degree burns, matter of fact. Uh, but I would get burned, and then once I was burnt, that first time, I could go out every day out in the sun, even down in Arizona. I could go out every day butt ass naked. Well, not butt ass naked, but and I would not get burnt no more. I would just get more brown, like I was being slowly cooked. That's what I always said. Me and my dad, we look good when we're slow cooked. But the how did I even get on that? I was wanting to talk about how where my name Watachee and see, folks, this is how my brain works. Look, squirrel. Uh, anyway, I don't know where I was going. Why I'm talking about? Oh, because I've been accused of being Mexican. That's it. See, I come back around. Out in Arizona, folks, I'd be walking around. I had looking like this, but I'm just brown as heck. And people could walk up to me and be speaking Spanish. And I'd rip them sunglasses off and go, "Do I look Mexican to you?" And then I'd put them back on. I always had an attitude, folks. And so I've been. People think I'm Mexican in Arizona, or they did at that time. Nobody's accusing me of that today. I have no problem with it, folks. My wife is Mexican. My kids, my stepchildren, are half Mexican. So I'm not racist. Don't go there. But anyway, I don't believe there's any Indian tribe of any kind in my body. If there is, it's because my family's been in this country since 1608 in the Virginia Territory. And if there's Indian blood in there, I'm sure my family was chasing every type of woman. So being an Indian wouldn't have made any difference. Uh, anyway, get back to why or where Watachee and Running Free come from, and Fakawi four wheelers. Oh, this is gonna be a long one. It ain't, folks. It ain't. I'm kidding. Uh, Watachee Running Free. Watachee is a word my father brought back from the Korean War. And it's not spelt the way I spelt it. I spelt it. Hillbilly. Uh, Watachee. I turned it into E to make it appear to be Indian. It's not Indian. It's Korean. And Watachee, Watachie, is friend. That's all it is. It's friend. I don't think Watachee is an Indian word of any kind. I made that up. I changed the spelling to make it look like an Indian word. That's it, folks. Watachee come because my father came back from the Korean War, and he always claimed he was Watachee, and he every now and then, like when I had a CB, he bought me a CB when I was like a Citizens Band radio. For those of you that don't know what that is, this was before cell phones, folks. This was the cell phone of the '60s. Uh, but he bought me a CB radio. I even had to have a call sign, just like every radio station, AM radio station across the earth, or not across the United States. I had to have a call sign for this thing. But my father, and I'm not going into it, I could. But my father, he claimed his handle for the CB was Watachee. And he would make statements, yeah, Watachee got the best of them then, or something like that. And he was always talking about himself. Even his brother called him. He would say something every now and then, say, "Oh, Watachee got him then," or something, or he'd be talking about my dad and call him Watachee because my dad came back from the war using this word. I added running free to the back of it to make it sound more Indian. The actual name is Friend Running Free. That's where it comes from. Friend Running Free. That's Watachee Running Free. Because of my hat, and everybody's always giving me a hard time about this thing. That's why I turned it into an Indian thing, an Indian name, Watachee Running Free. Now, that goes back to my childhood. Watachee does. It actually goes back before I was even born because my dad got out of the Korean War and I wasn't born in the 50s. So there was a lot of time in there before I was born. That he was running by Watachee, so it had nothing to do with anything to do with me. I just kind of took it over for the name of my channel, Watachee, for one reason. I wanted to do something that my dad was honored in it. And because I felt like what I was doing on my channel, Watachee Running Free, would have been honoring him. He was not drafted into the Korean War, folks. He signed up for the front lines. And because he did that, he ensured that his two brothers would not have to go fight in a war. That's why my dad, he was not drafted into the Korean War, folks. He volunteered to go fight on the front lines. They had to make the deal with him, though, that they had to ensure that his two younger brothers would not be involved in the war, and that if they could get drafted, but they would not go overseas and have to fight in battle. My dad chose to do that, and he took it on his own. He fought in that battle for 2 years, never got hit by a bullet, a piece of shrapnel, or nothing. He comes back. He's got 3 bronze stars and a silver star. Never been even hit by a bullet, folks. It never got struck by anything blowing up, flying around, bullets, everything it was involved in. He did not get struck by none of those. He was more harmed by the cold weather, and he had frostbite on his feet, knees, elbows, and hands when the Marines come in and got the last of them that was left. He was being watched over by God just as I was, folks. I've been telling you, I've been watched over by God. My dad was watched over by God as well. There's a reason for it, whether it's something he was supposed to do, something I was supposed to do, or something, well, it ain't going no farther than me. But anyway, like I said, he come back calling himself Watachee from the war. I changed it into an Indian looking name, put running free behind it. All it means is friend running free. I'm a friend. You ain't got nothing to worry about me, folks. I'm not coming for anything you have. I don't want what you have. All I want to be is left alone myself. And I'm trying to run as free as I can, even though I know I'm not running free. I'm trying to run. I'm running freer than you guys because I'm not attached to all the objects you guys are, like a house and property and cars and a job, and I'm not attached to all that. So I am running a little bit freer than you guys, that's for sure. Now let's get to Watachee. I spent 17 minutes on let's get to Fakawi four-wheelers. I spent 17 minutes on Watachee running free. I'll try to make this one quicker. When I went to college, folks, I went to college for one reason only. My daughter she was in the top 5% of all kids in the nation, the United States of America, and all of its ownership. She was in the top 5%. She was put in a national yearbook. Not everybody gets in that. But, and so I was trying to get her, me and my wife was trying to get her to go to college. She did not want to go to college. She looked at me and her mother and said, well, you didn't go to college. And Mom didn't go to college. And look at how good you guys are doing. Why would I go to college? Put myself in all that debt. And I was like, all right, you know what? You're right. So I went to college. And part of the thing that I went to college for was graphics, web page design, graphics design. Mainly, I wanted to learn how to build these web pages. And I learned from HTML and all that shit. It wasn't no drag and drop shit, folks. I was actually coding the whole damn web page. Every picture was coded in and all this shit. I was doing that shit when I went to college. I couldn't do it today to save my life. But I did know that shit, and I had a library of books on how to do whatever I wanted to do. And when I went to college, folks, I was going to college with a bunch of 18, 19, 20, so maybe 22-year-old tops, the students. The teachers were average of 40, 45. Average. I was 38 when I started. People I had classes that I was being taught programs like Illustrator, Photoshop, shit like that in order to be able to do the shit I was going to be doing. I had teachers that were younger than me. And, but I had to, when I was doing this, I was doing, like I said, web page design, graphics design. So in that year and a half or 2.5 years, I had to come up with articles, magazine layouts, articles, commercials. I had to do commercials, all kinds of shit, folks. I had to learn all kinds of shit. And so one of the things I had to learn was, or I had to make, is I had to invent my own magazine, a complete magazine. It had to be so many pages, photos, everything, just like any other magazine, ads, all of it in there. Uh, it had to, I had to produce it from start to finish. So I was dirt bike riding, 4-wheel driving, truck mountain climbing, desert roving, mud, or well, we didn't have a lot of mud out in Arizona, but there was some places up in the mountain you could find mud, and not like you can find in Ohio. Ohio was built on mud. But I had all these, and I still got a lot of these photos of all the, because we didn't have cell phones back then, folks. We didn't have GPS systems and all that shit. We were following trails until they ended, and then we knew what that trail was. We had it mapped out in our minds. There was no maps of these areas. Now, you can find older maps of the area, and a lot of these trails we were on were old mining roads that we were using, or an animal trail or something like that going through these mountains and shit. But I had all these pictures of all this off-roading and shit. So I came up with, well, I didn't come up with it. Somebody told me a joke about the Fakawi Indians. When I first got into Arizona, somebody I met with, started hanging around with, and he knew I was a fucking newbie in the area. Didn't know nothing about no cowboy and Indian shit other than on TV. And I just moved there from Florida, folks. This guy was telling me, he goes, man, did you hear what the Fakawi four-wheelers have done? Or not the Fakawi four-wheelers. Folks, it didn't come from it. He goes, did you hear what the Fakawi Indians have done now? And I'm looking at him. Are you kidding me? What have they done now? I'm acting like I know what the hell I'm talking about. Them sons of bitches. And he starts telling me this story, and I'm going, wait a minute, what's the Fakawi Indian? What the Fakawi Indian tribe? He goes, man, this tribe, back when the Pilgrims and all this exploring was going on back through here, this tribe is known because they was always found up in the trees, high in the trees, or up on top of the mountains. And they were always going, where the fuck are we? Where the fuck are we? And this guy had me going for a minute, then he come up with the ending like that. And I'm like, you son of a bitch. Now, about 15 years later, I'm in college. I got to come up with a magazine. Complete layout, photos, everything. I pop up with Fakawi four-wheelers. And after I had heard that joke, even my buddies, when we were out there going, okay, man, where's the Fakawi four-wheelers? There was guys out there, they had like a group of them, they were called, or they went by the name of Wolf Pack. And there was some other groups, they always went camping and four-wheeling and shit together, and they'd have another name for that group, So I always telling my buddies out when we were out four-wheeling and shit. I said, hey, we're the Fakawi four-wheelers. We're always up on the mountain because we didn't have no GPS. And we didn't know where half the time, we didn't know where we was. So I said, we're the Fakawi four-wheelers, man. We're up here on the mountain going, where the fuck are we, Trying to figure out where we're at. So I made this layout in college. My teacher was giving me saying, Brian, this name, Pakawi Forward, it doesn't, you can't use that. And I'm going, what are you talking about? This is my teacher. He's younger than me. I go, what are you talking about? I can't use an Indian word? And he goes, an Indian word? I go, yeah, Fakawi. It means top of the mountain. He goes, oh, well, I didn't know that. Oh, yeah, yeah, go ahead. Hey, I can't stop you from using an Indian word. I got A's on all of it. It's in my portfolio, folks. I'm telling you, it's in my portfolio, the Fakawi Four Wheelers magazine. I used all my own photos. Did interviews with the guys because they were my buddies, and I had all this asking them questions. I had it all. And that teacher, he probably still thinks Fakawi means top of the mountain because that's what I told him. And he gave me an A on it. So there you go, folks. There's where your Fakawi four wheelers comes from and your Watachee running free. Today, Watachee, he just this harmless old man trying to get you to understand you need to follow Jesus' path. He used to be Brian Grooms. That guy was a maniac. Please, guys, seek Jesus' path. God loves you. So do I. Maybe we can sit down and talk about this stuff in heaven. You know what I mean? I hope. I hope. I'll still be telling them stories. I hope. I don't want to forget them. Love you guys. Till the next one.